Okay. Hi everybody. So my name is Jerry, and I'm going to do a quick introduction before we get into everything. So my name is Jerry, and I'm a graphic designer and also a visual artist. At so visual artist is like into um videography and photography, so more visual stuffs. I'm currently learning editing, that's video editing and other things aside. But today I'm going to be taking you guys on graphics using Adobe Illustrator. We are going to have a live demo where we are going to try to see how we can um, come up with a concept from scratch. I have not done the design before. I've not maybe pre-designed it before, so you're going to see how I'm going to walk through my whole process. But before that, we're going to have maybe a little bit of theory that's going to last about 10 minutes, and it's going to be talking about the elements of design. I think in the previous live video we had, we talked about the principle of design. So before we go forward, I would just like to know the people that are online on the class. I think I can actually see your names. Just that probably I'll prefer if you guys will introduce yourself. Um, so can we just maybe have your name? We could start with Victor. Your name and what you do, and then where you are connecting live from.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Jerry.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is Victor. I'm currently a graphic designer and also a PC hardware technician. I'm connected from Jos Plateau State.
Okay,
Thank you.
nice to meet you, Victor. So Jola, you can go next, please, if I pronounce it right.
Okay. Good evening, Jerry. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good
So
evening.
my name is Angela.
Okay.
I'm a project manager and currently in Lagos, joining from Lagos. Over to you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Samuel Kofi. Okay, so I don't know if Mr. Samuel is close to his phone, but if it's not, then we'll just get into it. So I will put up my slides, and I think we'll get into the whole design process now. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, please. So I'm going to go through over the element of design. It's not going to be a very long talk, just about 10 minutes. Then we'll start with the practicals. In case your network at any point disappoints you, there is a live stream on YouTube, or the video will be uploaded on YouTube and also be shared on the chat. So we're looking at the element of design, just a little bit of introduction to graphic designs. If any of us have a or a solid background in graphic design, and this is one of the things we should have learned or would have learned, because there are two pillars that needs to be established. Then in those pillars there are also rods in those pillars that are actually strength in those pillars. So there's principles of design, and there is the element of design. So the principle focuses on guidelines of how you go about designing, while the element focuses on the materials or the things that you use in applying those principles or the guidelines. So, in context, we're going to be looking at the seven elements and how they are actually applied, and what they can do or what you can do to have a very good design. So, an introduction, objective learning, and the course, and the whole review, and then we'll have an application and a review. So we'll define what the elements of design is. We identify the seven major elements of design and also explain the importance of each design. We'll apply the elements effectively in a design project that I'm going to show you guys for the design. So every design is built using basic visual components known as the elements of design. If you go through, probably if you check my YouTube channel, you go through the previous videos or previous live videos that have been uploaded, you will see um, there's a video that actually talks about the element, but I just want to use it to maybe refresh memory. If you have not watched the video, then it will this will be much helpful to you. Now, whether it's a poster, a flyer, or a website, any visual work or any visual artwork, the element is always a foundation to have visual communication. And using those elements or using those materials very well, you'll be able to deliver what what's the idea you have in mind. So what are the elements of design? These are basic visual tools used by designers to create and organize artwork. They help communicate ideas and emotions and also information effectively. So the first of them is lines. Sometimes people do not consider lines as being an element, but because they are like shapes. So every line is either a rectangle shape or it's a rectangle with two circles at the edge. So it could give it that curve, like the curve you have over here is also as a result of having a rectangle and two circles at the lines there. So we also have shapes, we have colors, we have textures, we have space, we have form, and also have values. So let's start with lines. Now this is like the most basic among all of them. A line is a mark connecting 2 points, or it could also be a horizontal line, a vertical line, a diagonal line, either curved, or that either it is zigzag or dotted. All these are lines and they can be used as elements when designing. So the functions of it is that it guides the viewer's eyes. So like if you want to apply, most times when you do apply the lines and the line element, it helps to guide the visuals of the person of and your target audience. So most times you could either use them like for motion designs, they use lines most times to guide people's eyes from one scene to another. So you have a line that dotted and is moving from a scene to the next scene in motion. So that's also a very good use of the line element. So you separate content. So if you have like different segments, you could use a vertical line to separate different segments. Okay, horizontal lines too could also do that. Then it could also define shapes and add emphasis. So there are lots of things like the horizontal line is more calm and stable. The vertical shows strength and most times also shows division. I didn't include that in this slide. So the diagonal line is more of energy and action. So it's either showing a cancellation. It's mostly used either into canceling things or um, taking action. So marks like good mark, like correct mark, or those marks like that are diagonal lines. Two diagonal lines are placed um, at an angle, so they show an action. So that action means it's correct, and if it's two lines that are cross diagonal to each other, it also shows an action which is shows fail or wrong. They also have curved lines which are more soft and more elegant in different ways. So they are used in road markings, in to underline text for border and flyers, and so on and so forth. So shapes, most times they are mostly in two dimension. So they are geometric shapes, and they are used most times to either to build or to tear down. So but mostly they are used to build. So geometric shapes are circles, squares, rectangles, triangles. Then for organic shapes, they are more of irregular shapes, and you could see them in different or in real life scenarios. So you hardly find geometric shapes in real life scenarios because most of them are irregular in shape. Like natural things are irregular in shape, like stones, like rocks, like leaves, like clouds, water splashes, water drops. All these are different kinds of organic shapes. They function as and they organize information. They used to create symbols and also logos, and also add visual interest. So they also establish structure, and then while for example of them, they are used in company logos, in social media posts, and also in icons and UI element. So what now? Color. We are going to be on today's practical. We're going to be focused more on using color. I'm going to introduce you guys to a site. Some of us might know this site, but I'm going to introduce you guys to a site. What I use. So there are different forms of using colors. It could be complementary. It could be monochromatic. It could be um, um, is it opposite, something like that. So complementary, opposite. That's then we also have different, so they have different methods of applying colors. So colors is a visual perception created when light reflects objects. So there are different ones. It's called HSB, while for others it's called HSB, generally HSB, which is the hue, the saturation, and the brightness. So the hue is the actual color that is given to the particular color. So like red is the hue of the color. So red is the color and that's the hue. While saturation is the intensity of the color. So it's either it is very intense, that's the color is very intense, or it is faded. That's the saturation. While for the brightness is how dark or how bright the color can be. So I'm going to show you that also using the Adobe Illustrator there. Okay, sorry, let me admit people. Yep. Yep, I think the person is out. Okay, I think the person is. Okay, so let's just continue. So now we have for textures. Now the quality of surface is a texture. Now texture deals with more of feeling than of more function. So it's more of the emotions more than more of a function. So the function or the function is to actually invoke emotion. That's for texture. So texture refers to the surface quality or appearance of an object. So actual textures are like wood grains, fabric weaves, stone surfaces, while visual textures are like printed wood grains, and then digital patterns and photographic textures and stuff like that. So what they do is that they create the sense of realism, and they add depth, and they are like visually appealing, and also improve the usual and the visual interface. So why I actually say experience is that the invoking of emotion or the sense of realism is what makes the experience to be unique or improves the experience. So we also have like paper textures, background patterns, and fabric um, mock-ups. So your clothes has a texture, and you could actually implement a cloth texture into a design, and it functions perfectly well. Now spaces, some people will argue also spaces are not elements; they are just there are things that just exist. But I also say that if things do exist, they are actually real, or they do exist. If they exist, they are actually real. So space is around, between, or uh, within or surrounding design elements. So is what you decide to not put. That is what is called space. What you decide to not put at a particular place is what is called space. Or what you decide to put at different spaces or at different positions is what is called space. Then given a particular place for everything to just breathe. So it improves readability or legibility, prevents clutter, and also creates balance and directs attention. So the imagine of a book, white space in websites, logo designs also have good use of white space. So there's something also called negative space and positive space. Now the area occupied by an object, the main subject, and the elements of design. So it's called the positive space. While for the negative space is the empty area around the object, often called the white space, just as important as the object itself. So in this case, the first one, we have elements, and then we have spaces in between those elements or other elements. That is the positive space. But if we have just one element and we have spaces from left, right, center, and top, bottom, then we have what we call negative space. And all these are very good, um, techniques or good elements that you could apply in designing. So we also have form. Like we have three-dimensional forms. So form is like considering your two dimensions and taking it into where you could perceive a third dimension. So two dimensions are shapes like circles, squares, rectangles, and triangles. While for form is it has a depth to make it feel like there is a third dimension. There's a third dimension to it. So like product application is like product packaging, 3D illustrations, and architectural designs. There's something called BIM. If you're doing architecture, something called BIM, you can apply it to so BIM actually exists in different forms or in different stages, different levels. So there's level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3. While for level 0, sorry, it's just purely 2D designs. If you're doing if you're doing architectural designs, you actually understand what BIM is. Then moving to the next level is where you begin to consider 3D designs. Now, the reason why you consider 3D designs is you give a you try to add depth or a different perspective. So you could be viewing a building from the front, but you could not see things from the side. So adding a third dimension will help you to see things from at least three angles or three perspectives, from the side, from the left, right, and probably from the top. That will actually help to improve your perception to a particular design. While now for values, now value just is more of light and darkness. So like in the colors, we have what we consider light and dark, like light and darkness. That is for the B part for the HSB. So we have HSB, which is hue, saturation, then brightness. So in this case, we are considering the brightness when it comes to the value. So light or darkness, or lightness or darkness of a particular color. Like the scale of, like if you check here, they said light, you could see the progression, and you also see for the dark, you see the progression. Now, so it creates contrast. It helps with contrast. Like in the examples here, where you see shadows and highlights, there is very good contrast from the text and also the background to it. That also helps. That's for value. So now, a very good question: why do we use elements? Design doesn't exist if there's no element, and design is the visual communication of an idea from one person to another person, or from a designer to a client, or to the receiver at the end, at receiving end. So why do we design, or why do we use elements in designs? It helps to communicate ideas effectively. It also helps with the aesthetics, that's the visual appeals of our designs. There's hierarchy. When we are designing, hierarchy is a design principle, and in that principle, it cannot be broken. If it's broken, it defeats the purpose of the design. What I mean is, like if in the last class when I talked about the principles of design, there are about 7 principles, but there are majorly three. Those 3 principles are the pillars of the rest of the principles. Now for elements too, there are 4 main elements. The rest of the other elements are under these 4 main elements, which the main elements are colors, shapes, um, typography. Typography is an element, please. I do include that. We're supposed to be a separate discussion. Typography is a separate discussion. Typography and lines. So those are the major, or those are the four main. So the shapes, there's typography, there's lines, and there's color. The rest of them rest upon these 4 elements. So it also helps to improve readability. It helps with balance. It helps with emotion, and we could mention a lot of things that we could use elements to achieve. Now we're going to go into a practical example. We are going to create a poster using Adobe Illustrator. Now most times I get a question and I'm asked, why do I use Adobe Illustrator? Why don't I use Photoshop or other design softwares? I will say that it is it is more flexible. It is more manual actually. It's very manual to use Adobe Illustrator compared to Photoshop. Photoshop deals with a lot of pixels, and you have to bend pixels and tweak pixels. You can achieve a lot of things using Photoshop, but when you're using Adobe Illustrator, you get to appreciate the whole process because you're creating your background from scratch. You're doing most of everything from scratch, and the disadvantage is you cannot edit pixels to the form that you want it to be. So everything we do here is vector based, not pixel based. Our export can be pixel based, but our whole design process is vector based. So we're going to be jumping into seeing how we can just do a practical session. I've not done any design before. I've not done this design before, so it's not like, oh no, I've done the design, let me just recreate it again. So I just want to do a fresh design. These are designs that are, let's just go through designs that I've done for the past 3 days. I think it stays away. I take this down. Okay, so this is just a continuation of the design series I've been doing for the past. So this is the first one I did. Just to resume, it's been quite some time. Everything here was created from scratch. The whole designs, the whole background, everything was created from scratch using Adobe Illustrator. It might be possible, it's very possible in Photoshop, but it's more manual here. You could edit every single thing here. Like, I could go inside and touch and edit and move where I want it to be. So that's one of it, and this is the other. Also, the background tools. Also, I'll show you the technique I use in all of them. So this is also for the design, the one we posted for the class. So I do not have an idea of what I want to do with this picture. I just liked the whole post and everything. I want to use it for designing. So if you do not have Photoshop, you could use any design software to remove the background for any image that you're considering on using in Adobe Illustrator. But if you have Photoshop, at the top here there is edit with Photoshop, and you can just apply it there. So in case you are not seeing clearly, the video also is on YouTube. You could just go straight there and you could watch it on YouTube. Then what I do, if you're using from Photoshop 2024 upwards, you could automatically remove the background. So here I could just go remove background, and it will do that for me. Yes, so now we already have our background removed. What we need, we can just do a little bit of touches here and like here and there, and let's see if we could get something there. Yeah, so we go to filters, we go to camera raw filters. Sorry, so I select this here. If you want, you could just separate it by coming to select and mask at the selective tool here. So you could do select and mask, and if you scroll down, we could just click OK, and it will remove a separate layer for you there. Okay, so good. Yes, so we have this. What we can do now with this is that we could go to filters, we go to camera raw filters, and if you want to edit the picture, we could use auto for that if you're not a photo editor. But I have a little bit of knowledge of photo editing, so I could just go to try and see if I could adjust the exposure and come down to this, a little bit of light, bring down a little bit darkness to make it more dramatic, add some shadows, not too much, and some, maybe a little bit of, drop the vibrance. I don't need too much colors because I'm going to even try to vectorize it using it and doing that in Adobe Illustrator. So I could save this, and as I'm saving, I downloaded it as a WebP option, so I could just save it and automatically saved. I come to Adobe Illustrator. It's going to give me a prompt. It can give me a prompt now, it can give me a prompt later, but it's going to give me a prompt to apply the edits in Adobe Illustrator. So all I can just do is start working on my background. Now I'm going to show you the site where I used to get my colors. So it's called pigmentsshapefactory.co. Pigment shape factories have monochromatic um, type of color combinations. Like, I don't know how to put it, but if you want to have two colors and have them with different brightness or with different lighting, like how light or how dark it can be, then pigment shape factory could actually help you with that. You could come up here and search. If you come to search, you could search for probably a particular scenario. So you could say food. If you say food, it's going to bring out some options when it concerns food and the colors you could possibly want to choose from there. So you could see this is combination of green, white and brown. You have combination of brown and I do not know this color. Then you have burnt brown and different colors, like combining different colors here. So let's see if we could have anything like boxing. Okay, so we have something called boxing. So you could have different colors picked from boxing. So I think I like this. I like how simple it is. So it will give you options. Now if you, as we said, we have HSB. HSB is hue, saturation and brightness. Hue, saturation and brightness, we're going to apply, you could see how it's been applied here, from the brightest to the darkest. So we'll go to the top one here. I will pick the hex code. This is the hex code for uh sorry okay, now this is the hex code for our color here. We'll come back to our Illustrator. Yeah, we say yes, so help us to move the background in that one. So we'll come up to Illustrator here and then we'll create a shape. In the left hand side is the toolbar. In case you don't have your whole settings arranged like this, don't worry, you come to Windows, you go to workspace and then you choose essential classic. It will arrange it exactly like this. But if you want when you install it for the first time, it just comes with essentials. So let's go. So first of all, we have shape. I'm going to draw the first shape. You come to this side here and you double click on it. You change the hex code with the one that you have copied and you paste it there. You say okay, so it will change to that color. You could hold on your alt or option on Mac and drag it so you have a duplicate here. So we're going to change this color now to the dark side, the dark part of this hue. You come to this dark part, you copy the hex, you come ensure it's highlighted, you double click on this and click on and you paste it there and you say okay, and that's how you have those colors. So what so you can do this for the remaining two here, but it's a little bit hectic if you are doing that and maybe you are trying to speed up your whole work. All you just need to do is you select the two of them, you come to object, you go to blend and you go to make blend. Now it's going to blend the color from the darkest to the brightest. You could leave it like this if you want to, but I do not leave it like this so that I could have the exact colors that I want in between. So what we do is I will go to this left hand side, I will choose blend. You could just click on W or blend, just double click on it and you go to change the spacing to specified steps and then you change it to 2, and if you say okay, it's going to give you the remaining two colors in between those, like you can see in here. Also do the same thing here. You go to copy the hex code, you choose a shape, you draw the shape, you come here, double click, paste, and you go to dark one and you leave it there, and you duplicate it, double click, paste, select the two of them. The shortcut for it is Alt Command B or Alt Control B, sorry. On Mac is Option Command B, so it gives that blend for you. You come here, double click, and you change the specified steps and 2, and you click OK. Now we have generated our colors, our possible colors. Now we could introduce our guy to the design. but we want to have our background first established. So what we do is we draw a shape. We draw a shape, and then we could use our eyedropper tool. This is our eyedropper. The shortcut for it is I, and you could just change the color to this, and then we could bring him in front and test and see if it is working the way you want it to work. Now, not like I can have an idea already, but I think probably we could have light behind him. Then we have like maybe soft light of this, that's a brighter shade of this color behind him, and then we blend it. So the same way we did this blend here, we're going to also apply that blend method to this. So we are going to draw a shape. Either I think maybe we use the polygon tool. You click on it, you choose the number of sides you want, from say 9, and you say okay. You go to your eyedropper tool and you choose the bright color there, and then you zoom in and you bring it to probably his front, and click on the shape, the main background shape, because that's what you're blending with. But most times I do advise that you don't use the main background shape, you duplicate it. So you could say Ctrl C, Ctrl F, and it will duplicate. Now you have an extra background there. What you do is that you click on this, on the main background, and then click on the one that is on the foreground, ensuring that you are holding on shift, because shift means that it's holding, waiting for the next object to be selected. So now the two objects are selected, but nothing has been done yet. So what you do is that you go to object, you go to blend, and you go to make blend. Now it will blend it from the brightest to the darkest, or from the darkest to the brightest. That is your blend. So when you double click on this object that is blended, it will highlight, it will isolate that layer and make it one, make it that you cannot edit anything outside of it until you double click outside of it. So you can only edit what is inside of the isolated layer. So what we want to do is I want to add a effect on this particular shape. We could drag it. If you drag the curve there, you could either turn it to a circle, or you could just leave it as a polygon. So we'll go to effect. You could come up here, you see effect, you go to distort and transform. You could choose any of this as an effect for it. So you could either use roughing effect. It will automatically give change the specified steps to 1 instead. So remember, when we blended, we did not adjust the specified steps, but now it automatically adjusted it to 1. So we'll go into the specified steps to actually see how we can adjust it to make it more in between them. So we have for the sizes. Now the sizes will determine how intense the rough is going to be like. Why for the details is how many of angles will be introduced into the roughness. So if you increase it, you see it becomes more refined at the edge there. So I think we can stay with 20, or yeah, 20. I'll say okay. We could also apply a particular effect on it, but before we do that, we will adjust our specified steps as we said initially. So when you click, we could go outside and click on that particular one, and then you could go back to your blend tool, double click on it, you change this smooth to specified steps. You could see it's just 1. You could increase it like this manually, and automatically it begins to blend in, and you could see that beautiful texture of design. But I do not like most times for it to be like this, because it looks like it's just rough brushes that I've done on it, and then something like that. So we could just leave it at 10, or maybe 7. Yeah, I think 7 is okay. And then you could say okay. Now if we go into our isolated layer, that's by double clicking on this, we could click on this center one and then apply another effect to it. So you go back to here, or effect is at the top here, or is at the right hand side. You go to distort and transform, then we could tweak it. Now if you apply tweak, you could see a different kind of pattern that is being applied to it. So this is like a texture that is also applied to the whole design stuff. You could say okay, and then you have it like that. So you could actually adjust it by coming here and going into the appearance panel. You go to the appearance panel and then you could adjust the tweak if you did not adjust it previous time. So we could adjust it to either to be more rough or to be less rough in that case. So like this, I think this is okay. You could say okay, and you could click outside, and you just have your design here. So the the boy is actually not appearing on our canvas. The reason is this particular shape that the whole work we've been doing has been on the boy's layer. So if you go to your layer panel here and you open it, you could see that the boy is under of this layer, so that it's being covered. So you could decide to click on this, sorry, just highlight on it, sorry, then you could decide to bring it down and to be under, or the shortcut for it is command open bracket, like command open coily bracket instead, and then you could place that on top. So we already have the boy um there, so we could introduce this, make it bigger. Now um if you are using Adobe Photoshop, most times there is something called contamination color. So it leaves these white things at the edges there. What you need to do is that when you click on it or you go back to your Photoshop, you could highlight this by holding on Command or Control. You click on it, so it will highlight the whole, select the whole of the boy. You come to the selected tool and you say select and mask. If you scroll down to this point, you will see the contaminate color. Sorry, it's contaminate color. So there's like a contamination of colors at the edge. So you just say decontaminate the color, and it automatically remove the white at the edges, and you could say save as a new layer and okay. So you could delete the one under and you save it. You go back to Adobe Illustrator, and we'll wait for it to update. When it updates, it will give us a prompt. So we could select this and bring it up. I want it to be like directly under his head, while I introduce a different flair to that. So we're going to be drawing this same shape, and we'll do it like this. We'll make it brighter. So it's, we come to fill, we go to our color mixer, and I'm already using HSB. If yours is not HSB, it's RGB. We'll come up here and change it from RGB to HSB. That's hue, saturation, and brightness. RGB is red, green, and blue. There's also um, RGY. I think it's yellow. Yes, RGY or something like that. But there's HSB. So I use HSB most times because of the brightness. So I'll adjust the brightness and make it more bright. I could say yes. So you could see at the edge now there is no more those white things at the edge. Yeah, so that's what to decontaminate color means. We say okay. If you click on this, say Ctrl C, Ctrl F, and could increase the stops. You bring it down by holding on Ctrl, open coily brackets, and then we have two of the shape already. So if you're not, if it's too fast, please do not worry, you can just go through the whole. I'm not trying to beat up the time, so I spend just an hour. I will not want to keep us all waiting. um so I made that okay. Okay, so a we have a brighter color. We should have a brighter color at the middle there, and if you want, you could blend the two of them by holding, remember shortcut Control Alt B or Command Option B.
Edison. Edison, buy one. Here, that one see.
Okay,
That one see. Fine. I don't know my son.
so who is, his mic is on. Let me mute him from here. Okay, I think mute. Thank you. Good. So you could have, if you check, you could see how it blends. If you double click and you go into this isolated layer, you could either turn off, or sorry, not turn off. You could either remove the fill and allow it to just be like that, but it will not have any effect. So what most times you could do is you drop the opacity to have there, if you want to have that soft blur for it. There are different ways you could do that. You could either use what is it called, um you could use the gradient. So you could have a radial gradient, but most times I like this because it's, as I said, it's more manual. If you also want to add a flare to it, you could go to the effect, go to distort, and you go to roughen, and it adds that flare to it. So you could you say, okay, if you decrease this, and then you come to here, you change the steps to specified steps, you increase it, so it will give it that kind of fire stops. But now the edges are sharp. We do not want that. What we want to do is we come to effect to come to blur, Gaussian blur, and then we could reduce the Gaussian to about 1. Or instead of Gaussian blur, we go here, we go to blur, we go to radar blur, and we say zoom in, and then we'll have it zoomed in. We could also reduce that to about 3, and then wait for it to load. It's quite heavy. So if you are doing all this effect and you are using a Pentium, I would advise you that you try and reduce the effect as much as possible so you don't have your system slow down. Yep. So I think we could just use Gaussian. I have tried to reduce to add the blur to one of the blend elements, but most times it doesn't work. So I do not know how to go, but best thing is just to go to effect, you go to blur, or you go to Gaussian blur, and then you have those effects to it. So what I will do most times is I will come to opacity, then I'll change the blend mode to either overlay or soft light. So in this case, I think I'll be using overlay. Then you can put it at the back, or I think if you use screen, it will make it more pronounced. So we could reduce this, and then, or we just drop the opacity of this to there. Yeah, so this is much better, or this is much nice. Now, so how background most times used to work in design is it's like creating a distortion or creating a distraction, and then putting an object or a subject in front of that distraction. So your background is more of the distraction of the whole design, while what is in front of it is what it should captivate everybody. So it's when people begin to look at the details, that's when they begin to see the distractions that are going on in the background. So it's like having a blurred background, but having a subject that is more prominent in what you are capturing. Yeah, that's just photography actually. But so this is how we just apply most of these things. You could do this, and if you want, you could scale it up like this, or you could leave it in anyhow you want it to be. I think for the background too, we could also do a little bit of touches to it. To go to appearance, we could decide to delete the roughing effect, then we could add a new effect, and then we could call it either twist or zigzag. I think we just try and apply zigzag, make it smooth. Yeah, I think smooth will be much better. Then you could add let's see, what if we remove the twist, and then we come and add twist. Then we can increase the twist to maybe 180 or 170, and then we'll have something like spiral like this. But I think I don't like that. So we'll have zigzag. We could have that with tweak. Yeah, I think this is not bad. So yeah, so that's just the concept. Is the concept is just you have a particular subject, you want to place it there, and then you have a background as just distraction. Then now you begin to, so one of the main challenges I get people to complain about is the arrangement of text. Now the arrangement of text is very important in your design, in finishing designs. Arrangement of text, or positions of text, not arrangement. The positioning of text is very important. So with practice you begin to observe, or you have an imaginary line that is on your screen, But in case you don't have an imaginary line, you begin to introduce what they call ruler. Now, if you say Control R on your system or Command R, you could drag a line to position in your frame. You could drag another line to position in your frame. Now, if you check, my snap is on, so there's something called snap, like snap to it's actually under the view here, so it like snaps to grid. So anytime you're doing, so probably just maybe look at it. If I, yeah, look at it, yeah. So snap to point, snap to pixel, or snap to grid. So my snap to point is on. So when you drag, there's a particular point it gets to, then it snaps. So it will help you in designing. So if I drag, I get to a particular point and it snaps, then I know, oh, this is a very good point for me to place. But this now did not snap from the top to bottom, so you know that it's, you have to have like a visual hook. But most times you use the rule of third. So how you can apply the rule of third in this case is that you could come under the lines, you right click on the lines, and you have a rectangular grid tool. If you click on it and you click anywhere, you could click and change the signs and the points to 2 and 2. Then if you zoom in, you have your rule of third here. So let's add a stroke to that so that it becomes visible. So this is your rule of thirds. You could introduce it to your design, and then you could just adjust it like that. So now we already have the rule of third placed inside the design. If we want, you could delete your guides. Let's go off the guides. So we have a rule of third, and then we can begin to apply that into the design. So if we want to place our text, so let's say we want to call this the good fight of faith. Let's say good fight of faith. We could choose Mr. Frog. I've been using Mr. Frog for quite some time now. And say good fight of faith. I think we can make that all capital letters. Good fight of faith. No, do not like capital. So the good fight of faith. Now, in this case, you could decide to place it. If you place it here, it will look off. So what you want to do is that you could guide your eyes and place it along the line. So you could move to this place either along the line, or you could come down here, but it is being guided by the line. So that's how you could actually introduce. So you could also bring it here and it's guided. So anywhere along these lines, it will help to guide wherever you want to place your text. So I could decide to place my text here. That's my main text. Let me reduce the space in between, and I could have maybe my long text to be placed right here. So I sometimes generate most of the text that I use in those cases. Change this to white, and then also change this to white. So I could just say good fight of faith, and then it will generate some a poem for me, give me some Bible verses that I should consider. Sometimes I come up with my own Bible verses, sometimes it encourages me with some Bible verses. So I could just pick this part and come here, paste it, change its font to a little low, and then reduce that to about 14. Reduce the kerning, the kerning to auto, so it has that alignment. So I could drag this to this point so that you could see that it is nicely positioned. If I remove this, it is arranged, like it is well arranged. Yeah. I do not use it most times, but if you know you're having issues with guiding your text on or positioning your text where it should be, you should try as much as possible to use the rule of third. You could also, I could decide to introduce this content here. I'll duplicate that and place it there. I'll drag it to either this point. So if I place it here, it will be wonderful. If I place it here, it will also be wonderful. So what I will do, let me hide that. What I will do is that I will do this, and then I'll have another text placed at the top here, but it will be dark. So let's go back to ChatGPT and say fight good fight of faith, and then we'll have come here, we'll paste that, and we'll change the text to black. We'll change the font size to 18, and we'll bring that here. Okay, so have a good fight of faith, and then we'll make this extra bold. So now, so this is just something you could come up with, and all this is done within the space of 10 to 15 minutes, and already you have something that is visually appealing. If you want to make any changes to it, you could say let's let's create a kind of balance. We drag this here, or we could bring this here and then take this here. So have that placed in that point. The reason why I'm doing that is I have a bunch of text here, so it creates this a little bit this um, tilt balance in some way. So that's it. So you could hide this and then check it out and see how it looks. So it looks nice. So this is just something you could come if you practice it a lot, you have a lot of variations, a lot of experiments. If you try a lot of experiments, you have a lot of results at the end of your designs. So these are the a lot and these are the things that I do try as much as possible to put into my own personal design. So most of the designs are done personally, and yeah. So that's just everything about the design. So if please you have any questions or any contribution or anything that you feel that you might add to this, anything that you might add that you feel that probably was not covered, and so that we can be able to tackle it, please. Hello, is everybody there?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So is it like it's understood, or you have to? Is it like it's understood, or you have to rewatch it again for you to have maybe for you to understand it much better?
Yeah, for me, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I think for next week we'll be having more of an interactive session. So we'll discuss more maybe about the business of design rather than just
Hi,
having a class. Okay, Sean,
hello.
Michael, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, yes, I came late, so I was unable to start the tutorial class. So I don't know if it's on YouTube, so that I'll rewatch it again and then
Yes, sure. Yeah, it's on
go
YouTube.
as you did. Then
Yeah, it's on
follow
YouTube.
me. Okay, okay, okay,
Yes,
bro. Thanks.
no problem, sir. Okay, so if there is no question, I will send the slides on the group chat. And if you, yeah, I think everybody's on the group chat. I'll send the slides to the group chat. Then, if there's any questions, you could just reach out on the group chat. Then also I'll reply to those questions. Um, in the absence of any questions, please have a good night rest. I will see you guys on the group, and then we'll talk much better from there. And also for next week, it will be an interactive session. We'll have very wonderful time. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, thank you. Bye as well.
Bye.